name is Hyman. Thank you once again for joining in this drive home. In today's conversation, I just want to bring up or discuss purchasing, leasing, buying used vehicles. In general, this comes up a lot with our friends and family. It definitely has come up a lot over the years with myself and my wife. I have purchased several dealer vehicles, several vehicles from the street, from private parties, and it usually always comes up to the same question for me. I don't know how a lot of people assess when to go buy a new car, if it's just a want, if you really need another vehicle. For our situations, it's usually if a vehicle that we own needs a large amount of service or a costly service for one item. If it just makes more sense to sell the car, get some money to put into the next one. If we can typically afford the monthly payment, we'll go to purchase a pre-owned car from a dealer so that we don't have to really invest a lot of money into repairs, upkeep. It's just regular maintenance, and it'll last us a while, at least until the car's paid off, and from there on we're just doing maintenance and upkeep. For I would say half the vehicles that we purchased in our lifetime, half of those have been private party, which has needed some work, not a lot. And typically you don't know what that kind of work entails until you've had it for about a year or two and things start to come up. Luckily, I know what to look for, at least for the most part. I can't always assess how much the work is going to be, but I can kind of put together an estimate based on looking up parts and getting quotes on services, or just from experience from past history of the same type of work that the car or truck has needed. One simple example, we'll go back to the most recent purchase, which is this truck that I'm driving. The guy did a full walk around with me. He explained everything that I needed. Primarily it was cosmetic, a few things inside the truck, a few little things, dents on the outside of the truck, but overall the paint was really good condition, so it didn't really need to be addressed or fixed unless you want to just make it look brand new. He did bring up a small leak that he didn't identify as to where exactly it was or what it was. I don't think he really knew. He pointed to where it was coming from, or at least where you could see the oil buildup. Myself looking at it, I didn't feel like it was going to be a large amount of a leak that it would be an issue. But I don't like to have my driveways full of oil. We do live in an HOA area, and we don't have a gated home to where if I had an oil pan, it would kind of be hidden. We also live on a hill, so the driveway is also an incline, so it's more visible if I had a drip pan holding the leaks. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to park it on the street for long periods of time either, because it also piles up. So even though you park it on the street, eventually you're gonna see a dark oily spot on the street, which doesn't look good either, right? Especially in a well-maintained or a decently maintained street. So took it to a dealer. They determined that it was a large cost. So the part was small seal. The seal itself is only like $30, but you pretty much have to take apart the crankcase. If you don't know really about trucks or cars, basically you have to take apart two big pieces of your drivetrain, your engine area, or I should say transmission area, to get to that seal, which is causing that leak. I didn't want to have further issues, or aside from just leaks, I didn't want to have it cause a bigger problem and cost more money. So we paid, obviously out of pocket. So the total cost for that repair and the purchase of the truck was right around $15,000. But if you look at the cost of trucks now, which you look at the last couple of years after COVID, the prices for used vehicles, especially trucks, has gone up a lot. I would say 30-40% hike in pricing. This price, or the price for this truck, was a little more than I would have liked to have paid, but it was still decently priced, for the year, make, and model of this truck. I feel that if you can get it at a decent price, it's better to invest into the truck and slowly do the repairs, as long as the repairs are not going to be needed all in the first year. If you can spread out the repairs and upgrades over the next 5 years, and say you spend 10 to 12,000 in upgrades and regular repairs in a 5-year span, plus the cost of the actual truck or car, to me it's worth it. Because if you go buy a new car right now, or decently, a car within 2 or 3 years old, you're gonna spend $25,000 to $35,000 at least, depending on what kind of car you're looking for. If you go get a V8 truck, full-size truck right now, fully equipped, which our truck for the most part might not have the luxury package, but it does have a tow package. It's a 4x4 truck. It seats 6, so it's pretty up there. This truck now, new, or at least a 2 to 3 year old model truck, is going to run you over 50,000, close to 60 if you have brand new truck. And once you finance it, you're looking at 70,000-80,000 overall. So to me, to buy a truck, put some money into it in a 5-year span, I'm going to spend half of the amount that I would have on a new truck, or a third, most likely, a third of the price of a new truck after it's all said and done. But it's going to run and look like some of the newer trucks. Obviously, if I did a full remodel on the truck or a car, then you're paying almost the same price. But a lot of the parts in a truck or a vehicle don't have to be replaced for a long period of time. Some parts can last you 15-20 years, 200,000-300,000 miles, so you can keep pushing a vehicle for a long time before a certain part has to be replaced. The regular wear and tear parts that need to be swapped out, which I could go into a full video just on parts to change out, right? But just the regular wear and tear parts that you would need to do on a 15-20 year old vehicle can be done in a 5-year span. So typically, once you start reaching the 100,000 to 150,000 mile mark, there's a lot of suspension, a lot of engine parts, transmission parts that you slowly want to switch out before they break on you. Because if you can be ahead of the repair, the more likely you'll save on other parts that don't have to be swapped out. Going back to the purchase of a truck, or when to buy a truck, that's kind of how we've been on used vehicles. I would say if you can afford to buy a brand new vehicle, if it's in your budget, if you don't know how to fix cars, or if you don't have anybody that can fix or repair vehicles, purchasing a new vehicle or vehicle within the 5-year mark would be your best option. Just because now you don't really have to worry about the maintenance. If it's under a certain mileage, the dealer will repair a lot of the work itself if something goes wrong. A lot of people, especially senior citizens or people that are about to go into retirement, even if they're not senior citizens, they like to get new vehicles because they don't want to worry about having to repair a car. They don't want to worry about doing something to a car that they don't know how to do, or they don't have the time to do. They want to use their time to be with family, kids, grandkids. Maybe they want to travel, and when you're worried about your car breaking down, or your car staying at home that needs repairs, it just puts a stressor that you don't want to worry about. When you now compare leasing to purchasing, that's another conversation. So we have done both. We have purchased and we have leased. I feel like talking to people, it's split in the middle. A lot of people don't like to lease because they pretty much tell you you're just renting the vehicle and you're not gonna own it at the end of the lease. Now, if you don't drive a lot of miles and you need it just for, taking you from point A to point B, maybe going out here and there with your friends, family, and again, you're kind of stay within that mileage that the dealer sets so that you don't, push the vehicle mileage so far once you turn it back in. If you're gonna be within those guidelines, I feel like leasing a vehicle allows you to have a vehicle that's not going to break down on you. It's going to be new. You don't have to worry about the tires pretty much within the time you lease it. You don't have to worry about batteries or any wear and tear items that typically go out on the car that's 5 to 10 years old. You don't have to worry about it. And once you're done with the lease, you give it back and don't have to worry about those parts that essentially you're going to have to repair if you would have bought the vehicle, you purchased it or financed it. Once you're done with the financing and it's paid off, now it's going to be a 5, 6, 7-year-old vehicle that's now going to start to need those parts. So yes, you might not own it, and you can say, well, you pretty much just threw $10,000 down the drain. If you compare it to the maintenance costs, the repairs, the parts, and everything that most people do on a 2-year time frame to an older vehicle, that is a lot of money, or it's more money to do the repairs and buy the parts, opposed to you leasing it. Within the lease time frame, pretty much everything is covered in warranty. So if something does happen during your lease time, more often than not, you're going to be able to take it in, get it serviced and repaired, and everything's going to be covered. There will be no out of pocket. Obviously, look into what kind of details and promotions, what comes with your lease. I'm sure not every lease is the same. Not every dealer is going to work the same. So definitely make sure you understand what you're getting into. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but I would say that's my takeaway from when we leased it. It was great to have a new car for my wife. I didn't have to worry about the car breaking down on her, the car needing anything. Our son was small, so a stressor of her going somewhere, taking our son to a doctor's appointment or a session somewhere, and the car breaking down is a stressor that neither of us wanted to have. So it really made sense for us. We got a nice economical car. The monthly payment wasn't a lot, so we didn't really spend a lot over the 2-year span to basically rent that vehicle. If you look at Uber and Lyft prices now, people are spending $200-$300 a month right now on Uber and Lyft. If you can spend $200-$300 a month on Uber, why not just take that same amount and lease a vehicle? If you finance it, yes, you're going to say, okay, that's going to be a little more. I can't afford $500 a month. Then you add insurance and gas. It goes to like $700. Yes, but there's plenty of vehicles that you can lease that are small and economical that fit in that $250 to $300 range. And then once you get an economical car and it's smaller, the insurance is also lower. And most likely it's a 4-cylinder, which you're not going to spend as much gas. So you can fit a nice lease vehicle for under $500 a month. That's with gas and insurance. Again, depending on where you go, where you work, and where you live. But I'd say that's something that's doable and achievable. Now, if you're driving, 50, 60 miles a day round trip, then you're most likely not going to be able to stay within the mileage that a leased vehicle requires people to stay in. So that option might not be the best option. Some people split it. If you work a position where you only work 3 or 4 days a week, even though you drive a lot, it will average out throughout the year. So if you do the math and it makes sense, I would definitely suggest that. Now, for those individuals that have the cash on hand to go buy a vehicle, now depending on where you're at, where you live, what city, what state, there's a lot of places that you can go to auctions For example, here in the Inland Empire, California, there is a location where you can go that they hold auctions at least twice a week, where you don't need a dealer license. You don't have to have a specific trade or license, or you don't pay no fees. You go in and there's just straight out bids. And because they're open to the public, most of the time dealers or people that try to flip cars aren't really competing at that point, because they know they're going to bid against people that are looking for a car to purchase and keep. So the biddings will go a little higher for them. So they're most likely not going to outbid you at that point, because they're going to want to flip it for some money. So at that point, you really just try to compete to outbid other people that are trying to buy a used vehicle without a lot of money. But a lot of these cars are well within the 10-year mark. They're almost new. They most likely got confiscated, taken, repoed, or whatever it was. And now you can get this car that's worth, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for probably half the price, or 40-50% off. That to me makes more sense when you have cash on hand. So if you have a good $5,000-$6,000 available right now, that can get you a decent car at an auction. On the street, unfortunately, again, because it goes back to cars and trucks right now costing a lot, even when they're used, you almost need a good $7,000 minimum to get a decent car that you're not going to have to repair or fix. If you're lucky enough to find a small truck, a small car from like a single or maybe a second time owner that's just had that vehicle for a long time, it's been well maintained, the only issue is it has a lot of miles, those are the best gems to find, which typically aren't always posted. They're just going to have a sign on the window. They're going to be posted outside their home, or they're going to drive around their normal routes, and you're going to have to try to catch those. I have unfortunately never been lucky enough to find one of those when I've needed a car. I have seen a few on my drives. Typically, going home to work, I'll see a nice little truck or a small four-cylinder, Camry or something, and you could tell it's well maintained. It's an elderly person trying to sell it, so they're not really looking to get a lot of money or making money off of it. They just don't want to deal with the repairs that are going to come up, or they already went and purchased their new vehicle and they don't need that old vehicle. And a lot of people don't like to trade it into a dealer, because the dealer doesn't give you the same amount that you would get on the street. So again, if you have cash on hand, I would highly suggest you trying to just buy out straight out a vehicle. Now the issue goes back to, if you don't know what to look for, it can get tricky, because even though it's a higher priced car, it doesn't mean it doesn't need something. Sometimes you are going to get those individuals that are going to try to sell you a newer car that's been salvaged, or it's been totaled, it's been an accident, it was fixed and repaired, and they already got a payout, but they're trying to make the most money out of that vehicle to fully compensate for everything that they already paid out of pocket. Which, all salvage vehicles are not bad, but if they've already been in a major accident, even though things have been replaced or repaired, it's basically like a human body. You can get an accident and get stitched up, fixed up, but your body's still going to carry those effects of being on a major accident or incident. Even though you were fixed up and you're walking along, your internals are still going to feel it, and you're going to start to show signs of it. Maybe later on in life, but you're going to show the signs of it. Same thing with the car. They'll tell you, they'll post it, it's salvaged, but hey, it runs perfect, it runs smooth, it looks great. It will now, because it just came out of the body shop, right? But over the next 5 years, you're going to start to see effects from that collision or that incident, whether it be computer-wise, electronics, or mechanical issues. If you're not into repairing things, or you don't know how to troubleshoot, I definitely wouldn't recommend getting a salvage vehicle. But if you get a vehicle that's not salvage, that looks decent, it might just need tires, might just need a paint job. Overall, cosmetic wise, is not really bad. You could tell it was a family-owned vehicle. They just drove it, a lot as a family, or it was somebody's, take to work and back home vehicle. That'll have a lot of mileage, but if it looks decent shape, that's probably a good purchase and better option than going to buy $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 car. And I know you can argue and say, well, man, I don't want to get rid of my $6,000, $7,000. You know, that's my safety money. Obviously, try not to spend everything that you have. Save, maybe only spend 70-80% of that savings, and make that your budget. If you already saved $7,000, then only spend $5,000. Leave yourself a little net to have to repair a vehicle if something does come up. Because I will tell you, even if a car is looking nice and runs smooth, if it's over 5-7 years old, it's gonna need a battery, it's gonna need tires, it's gonna need a few suspension parts. Some cars could be real new, it could be a 4-year-old vehicle, but if they use it for work, for travel, that car in 4 years could accumulate 80,000-90,000 miles, and that's a lot of miles for a 4-year-old car, which does happen. And people will tell you, like, that's why it's priced pretty decent, because they know that there's a lot of wear and tear in those 4 years. So if you don't know how to look or shop for cars, definitely take somebody that does, or just look online. Look for what are the most problematic cars, or if you see a car, look it up. Hey, this is a 2015 Toyota Camry. What are the most common problems with this car? And start to kind of look up and see details. Start to see if there are things that are going to come up, or maybe things that the seller already tells you, hey, those things came up and they've already been fixed and repaired, so now you have another 5-10 years before you have to worry about them again. So it's probably a good investment to pay for that used price. Whatever direction you go, whatever option you go, again, financing, leasing, buying straight out, always assess your financial situation. Try to make it fit your budget. Try to make the best choice. Sometimes you get cornered and you have to go a route that maybe you didn't want to. Having a car, especially in Southern California, I think is very difficult. Roads aren't always fixed when they're supposed to or how they're supposed to. You could just be going to work or school on a daily basis, and you're gonna say, man, I can't catch a break because I'm only going to these places. I'm not going out traveling, I'm not partying, I'm not taking this car all the way to the mountains. But because of the way the roads are, how bad they are, how unmaintained they are, it does cause a lot of expedited wear and tear on a lot of the cars, and people don't realize that until they've driven it 5-6 years, and all of a sudden you need shocks. Most of the suspension is shot. There's a lot of mechanical issues that are starting to happen that you just can't pinpoint to what it is, and I'm gonna tell you that's most likely what it comes down to. Now, if you live in nicer areas where the roads are better kept up, or you drive a lot of freeway miles where the freeway is a little bit better or a little smoother, that you probably won't have to worry as much. But if you start to dive into like LA, San Bernardino, even other cities that aren't basically maintained or kept up, those are the areas that are going to cause a lot of wear and tear into your vehicle. So again, assess your financial status, kind of see where you're at. If you have any comments, suggestions, if you have any questions regarding what you think you should do based on what you're looking for, what your need is, drop a comment below. I will get to you as soon as I can. Share this video for everybody that's debating or considering looking for a vehicle. If they have any, if you want to give them any advice, feel free to share this video. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you guys following. Thank you for your support, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you.